Fake news in the Canary Islands. It's been amusing to read comments about the island's weather in the press and social media over the last few days. Apparently, the Canary Islands have only just survived storm and tempest and all manner of tragedy. Flights have been cancelled, airports destroyed, cars and roads have been washed away, and basically, all hell has broken loose on these Paradise Islands. According to the Mail, Sun and Express, life as we know it on these islands is about to come to an end. Really? Fear not. The sun is out again today, and apart from a few more potholes in the roads and some vigorous mopping of patios, life is more or less back to normal. It has been a bit wet, of course. Some flights have been delayed for a few hours, but life continues in much the same way as it did before the rain. These islands do get quite a lot of rain each February, which is why flights and accommodation are usually cheaper then than at other times of the year. But some years are worse than others. In short, there is nothing to get alarmed about, but the tabloid press is having a field day about tourism disaster in the Canary Islands. Maybe they're talking about life in an alternative universe. Or do they simply exaggerate a minor inconvenience to sell a few more copies? Brits love to talk, and preferably complain about the weather. Conversely, most Canarians that I speak to have welcomed the refreshing rain that has cleansed our streets from the dust and sandstorms and dog poo that have lingered from the summer months. The reservoirs, which are almost empty and were the subject of an alternative doomsday scenario in the popular press, well, they've been replenished, and the island's forests and green spaces are actually rapidly changing from a dusty brown to a lovely fresh green once again. Everything smells so fresh and new again. What's not to like? Those reporting sensationalist stories and posting heavily doctored videos about the island's weather forget that few homes in the Canary Islands have the benefit of gutters, roadside drains, and even a damp-proof course within the basic structure to deal with an excessive fall of rain. We usually don't need it. As a result, we do get a few problems from time to time, but it's hardly the stuff to get too stressed about. In true Canarian tradition, all is well after 2 or 3 days, and any inconveniences are quickly forgotten. For many holidaymakers, of course, the Canary Islands are the subject of dreams and a heightened anticipation for a forthcoming holiday in the sun. It also costs a lot of money to go away for a few days, and who wants their dreams to be shattered? How dare anyone publish anything that detracts from this view of Paradise Islands? Indeed, I've read several comments from both residents and holidaymakers complaining that the local press should not be writing anything negative about the weather because it's bound to have a negative impact upon the tourist industry. Or dare I raise the grim reality of the number of tourists drowning after jumping into their hotel swimming pools after a particularly heavy alcohol-induced lunch, or swimming in that oh-so-cold Atlantic Ocean? How about the number of tourists being treated for acute sunburn, heat stroke or heart attacks in our hospitals? As for the number of tourists returning home in a body bag or in an urn, well, let's just not go there, but it is a troubling statistic, I can assure you. Let's just publish fake news and forget all about reporting reality. Is that what tourists really want? The truth that is often ignored is that these islands are not always the paradise that is usually portrayed by the tourist industry. We do have our fair share of crime, with murders, theft, stabbings, drownings, drug and alcohol abuse, prostitution, partner, child and animal abuse are all reported in our weekly news. We boast of more drownings on these islands than any other region of Spain. The islands suffer from poverty, homelessness, require food banks and face huge unemployment, as well as being the most unpopular region in all of Spain for the quality of employment opportunities. Sorry, but there we have it. These islands are not always the paradise that many like to claim they are, but are merely a romantic illusion of an idealistic world, which may help to fulfill fantasies during a couple of weeks' holiday in the sun. If you think about it, they cannot be anything else. After all, flawed human beings live and work on these islands. Therefore, nothing can be perfect. For much of the year, the sun shines, tourists come and go. Many arrive pale and sick, some with colds, flu, depression, and anxiety in a bid to forget their troubles, albeit briefly. For most holidaymakers, these islands help to refresh and replenish the soul. They give inspiration, relaxation, and much-needed rest to troubled minds. For most of the year, they do a pretty good job. But let us also remember how these islands have their off days too. You have been listening to Fake News in the Canary Islands by Barrie Mahoney. This is part of the Letters from the Atlantic series. If you'd like to find out more about me, my podcasts, blogs and books, please go to my website, which is www.barriemahoney.com, and that's Barrie with an IE. Thank you for listening.